more plentiful food supply so kids aren't, near starvation as they develop.
Plentiful food, and like we were saying, like growth hormone that's been given to cows and chickens and other things to make them
that, or it
grow.
could be, a mutation, just like they had in Germany, that super baby that I think it was a myostatin gene was malfunctioned, and the baby's muscles just kept growing. And this baby was
Schwarzenegger baby.
When it was just, I think, 2 years old, it could hold 5 pounds out in each arm straight, elbows locked.
Well, anyway, the point is it couldn't have been like this. I mean, even under a young Earth creationist model, this wouldn't make any sense.
That's if you're saying linearly, if it's
yeah, that's what you would assume a priori, unless you have some reason not to think so. And if you don't think so, then why bring this up as evidence it's degenerating?
I don't know. I guess you'd have to actually sit through and look at all that more on paper.
This whole conversation started by Jared implying that the natural selection and the changes that we see extrapolated over long periods of time will somehow solve the mystery.
Yeah, but
it doesn't. Long periods of time make it worse.
Here's the problem. First of all, was trying to use humans as I'm not sure how much scientists would agree with me about this, but my opinion is that natural selection is not really operating on humans anymore.
Yeah, because we're too much artificial selection and too much we medical profession helping.
Yes, we keep people alive.
They probably would not have lived.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't be alive right now. You might not be alive right now.
Correct.
I mean, there's all kinds of things that happen to people. Like my car accident, I'd be dead if it weren't for medical technology keeping me alive, and all kinds of things like blood transfusions, MRIs, and surgery and all this stuff.
Right.
That stuff didn't exist until the last 100, 200 years.
Correct.
So natural selection can't be applied to humans, at least in that direct context.
Not as much. There's probably still some natural selection going on.
Barely any, I would say.
Of course, there's a lot of countries that don't have any of that. You go to some of the African countries where they still have any MRI. You don't even know what electricity is. So they're probably still effective. But anyway.
Yeah, for an example of that, actually, yeah, you're right. In a lot of parts of Africa, AIDS has infected like 100% of the population in large areas. So you're going to see natural selection actually working there. The people that don't get AIDS from HIV are going to survive and take over the population. The ones that die from it will die out. And then you'll have a whole population of Africans that can't get AIDS.
Oh, maybe.
Definitely.
We'll see.
We will see.
Okay.
It's going to happen.
Dr. Hovind?
Yes, sir.
Richard here in the control room. As you know, I never break in, but I think your caller needs some encouragement. By virtue of a story I can tell, that evolution does positively exist today, and that I have a friend whose 19-inch television morphed and evolved into a 27-inch brand-new television by virtue of his 3-year-old daughter smearing peanut butter all over and into the old television. Now, that's the way evolution works. It improves things by degrading them.
Well, peanut butter is high in protein, very high in protein, so that'll do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, thank you, Richard. I appreciate that.
I'm 6'4" too.
Okay. Both my brothers are. I only ended up 6'1". I don't know what happened. My sister ended up 6 feet tall.
Same situation here. My dad's 6'5", my older brother's 6'4". My sister's about 5'8", 5'9", and I'm about 5'11", so unfortunate me.
Well, you're still above average, Jonathan.
Yeah.
You don't have as far to fall, Jonathan.
But when your dad is 6'5" and your brother's 6'4", and you're 5'11", you're still...
You feel bad.
Yeah.
You just can't. You're going to feel bad.
I'm the tallest in my family, so I wouldn't know. But
Okay.
Anyway, so I wanted to ask you. Okay, so you can't. So if we agree that you can't use humans really as a model of what natural selection would do on a population of animals, then what would you say about the question of if the Earth were really old, do you think evolution would be inevitable?
No, I think the more time you give it, the more problems you're going to have with planets slowing down in their spin, meteors hitting the Earth, destroying things. More destruction and decay is going to set in. Look how many craters the Moon has. I mean, the probability of total annihilation of the Earth is so much greater if you give it millions of years.
Well, yeah, exactly, and that pretty much has happened over and over again. If you ask any geologists, they'll tell you there's all kinds of meteor impacts that are stored in the fossil record. The KT event 55 million years ago killed off all kinds of them.
Plus, actually, that's true. Even by secular authorities to check that out. They think it caused a chain reaction to kill off the dinosaurs, but they didn't directly do it.
We got a break. We'll be back in just a minute, folks. All right. Welcome back, folks, to the Creation Science Hour and a Half. Ken Hovind, Jonathan Sampson, live here in Pensacola, Florida, August the 11th. Jonathan, are you going to be okay? Your chair's falling apart.
Yeah, I'm falling apart. Now my chair's falling apart. Every time I lean back, it's
Now, see, give it enough time, that thing's going to evolve into a, ejection seat or something,
I hope not. I don't know.
Yeah, I can push a button over here and fling you out the window. That'd be pretty cool.
I like to refer to that as a bad thing, actually.
Okay, so, Jared, your answer to the problem is mutations acting on the existing gene code, given enough time, will turn an amoeba to an elephant.
And then, I don't know if it's an amoeba per se, but a single-celled organism, sure.
Okay. And would you concede that that is your faith, not scientifically observable or testable?
Is particle physics part of my faith, too?
Oh, you're avoiding the question.
No, I'm asking you a question that gives you the answer.
I don't know how much of particle physics can be demonstrated scientifically, empirically. Depends. You have to be more specific with the question.
But the existence of quarks or gluons or positrons.
I don't think anybody has any empirical evidence for any of those three.
Oh, my God. Well, then you're rejecting a whole lot more science than I thought you were. I mean, most of the particle physics that's been done since probably the 50s or 60s, you would reject then, right?
Well, I'd want to see it clearly presented, okay?
Bubble chambers and stuff like that.
Gluons, I guess you might need to talk to Russell Humphreys, I guess, at ICR.
I don't want to talk to anybody at ICR. Thank you very much.
Well, he's a physicist. I mean,
maybe he used to be.
I talked
he's over at ICR. He probably is not a physicist anymore.
He just now retired from Sandia National Laboratories, and that is an extremely well-respected laboratory. And so, I mean, it would be very degrading to his credentials and his history and professional, work in physics to say maybe he used to be a physicist. That's very derogatory.
Yeah, and it's also pretty degrading to his credentials for him to go and work for a creationist organization like ICR, in my opinion.
Oh, that's okay. I'm glad you said in your opinion
that
there.
That shows the prejudice.
Oh, I absolutely have prejudice against creationists to do this kind of stuff because I think they're spreading pseudoscience. Now, I think it's shameful for a former scientist to become a pseudoscientist.
Why do you call him former? I mean, because they're still doing research.
I mean, we would look at it quite the opposite. They've changed from pseudoscience of evolution to real science.
I mean, you can go over there, fly over there November 5th, and sit in on the rate conference. I mean, actually make yourself available to them. I mean, if you're going to say that somebody's no longer a physicist because they're not working in a government, supported laboratory, and because they're now working in an independent...
No. He's saying they're no longer scientists because they no longer believe in evolution.
No, I'm not.
That is exactly what you are implying.
You're saying because he works for ICR now that he's not a real physicist anymore?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that it makes his credentials less impressive for him to do that.
Well, then make yourself available to them. Go to this conference, actually sit in there and ask questions. They're going to have an hour and a half, I believe, of panel discussion for the audience to ask any question they want. The game is open. It's an open ball field.
Where's this event being held?
This is going to be in California. You're going to have to get on ICR.org and look on their schedule there. But they're going to have Larry Vardaman, the entire rate staff. I think they call them the Fearless Seven or something like that. A group of geologists and geophysicists and things like that. And so you can actually go there and sit down and talk with these guys. And you're over there in California, right?
No, I'm in New Hampshire.
Oh, New Hampshire, okay. Well, I think it's in California, yeah.
I would love to attend that kind of thing, like maybe, half a year or a year. I'm way too busy right now to be doing stuff like that. But I would like to confront people like that, in person, if I could. I mean, in my view, it's pretty much the same thing as, say, an astronomer who has worked on the Hubble Space Telescope project and starts teaching astrology, or opens up a psychic hotline, where they do readings over the phone.
There you do have a good example that I would agree with you on.
Yeah, well, it's the same kind of thing, and you would agree that is degrading to their credentials, right? It makes them look bad if they do that.
That specific example, sure. But if they came out with an entire initiative, which is, completely scientific, have you read the Rate Project book?